A city and a county under siege. One cop murdered, another run down, 3 more wounded in a hail of gunfire. With Houston, Texas topping the nation in homicides, which leaders bear blame for the ongoing collapse of public safety? Down at City Hall, an unprecedented commitment announced to house the homeless. But with Houston's financial fitness at the breaking point, is it an investment taxpayers are eager to make? And to the delight of thousands, the 45th president returns to Texas. A year after leaving the White House, will Donald Trump's leadership help keep Republicans in charge of the Lone Star State? I'm Greg Groogan, and welcome to What's Your Point, where our panelists call it like they see it. Let's greet them. Starting us off, well-known businessman and columnist Bill King. Next up, LULAC President Sergio Lira. In the 3 spot, conservative commentator Gary Polland. Batting cleanup, longtime super neighborhood leader Tomaro Bell. And closing us out, Charles Blain, founder of Urban Reform. Let's begin. Just when you thought the condition of public safety couldn't crumble much more, our collective sense of well-being was effectively riddled by a barrage of bullets fired in broad daylight by a predatory repeat offender into the bodies of 3 Houston police officers. While all thankfully survived, the brazen violence aimed at law enforcement came just 5 days after the ambush and murder of Deputy Constable Charles Galloway at the hands of an undocumented fugitive who'd avoided arrest in this sanctuary city for more than a quarter century. While unrelated, the armed assaults are clearly part of the same vicious pattern plaguing our community. So far in 2022, there have been at least 38 homicides in Houston, the most of any major city in America.
These are inherently right now dangerous times.
These violent individuals, I'm damn tired of it. And we need to stand up as a community and do whatever we got to do.
Panel, you've all seen the video. You've all been bombarded by news accounts of repeat violent offenders released only to hurt or kill again. I mean, what more has to happen to reach an inflection point? And I start with you, Gary Polland.
Well, look, the bottom line is there are politicians that are responsible for this, and I call them the 3 stooges on Commissioner's Court. Lina Hidalgo, Adrian Garcia, and Rodney Ellis. They're the ones who are the architects of this problem, and they're not part of the solution. So for us to fix the problem, we need to get them out of office. So when Steve Raddick talked to the commissioners, he was spot on right. Unfortunately for the voters, we can't get rid of all 3. We can only get rid of 2. That would be Lina Hidalgo and Adrian Garcia. Replacing them will get us on the road to where we want to be. And it's important. And I know I'm going to share time with my fellow panelists, but I thought about this last night, Greg, and I wrote 7 things that they have done and stood in the way of law enforcement, of protection for innocent citizens. And they don't seem to care. I mean, Lina Hidalgo's comments the other day were ludicrous when she said, no one's ever talked to me about expanding the jail. I'm going to let Tomaro expand on that because he's got a lot of good information. So when we get back to this, I want to go over my 7 things they haven't done.
All right, Tomaro Bell, you take it. Is it that simple? Changing leadership?
Changing leadership is very important. Not only the 3 stooges, you stole my line, Gary, Mo, Curley, and Larry, but also the judges, because they have said repeatedly, we got to let them out. The Constitution said they got to have bail. The Constitution says an exception if they are a risk to themselves or a risk to the public. Y'all forget that stuff. Y'all don't ever want to say that. But you all know when a damn fool done kill 1, 2, 3 people, why the hell you say, this 4th time he gonna do better? And let me not forget the bail bondsman. Y'all used to say 10% of you stay here. Now y'all saying, give me a couple WIC cards, give me some food stamps, give me one of your rings, and you can stay, you can get out. That does not make sense. Public safety is not an option. It's a necessity. It is a necessity for us to be here. Who the hell want to be the murder capital of America? I'm from Gary, Indiana. We used to be here several times. That's called infamous, not famous.
Bill King, you put this issue under your personal microscope. What's going on here?
Well, there's no question Commissioner's Court has taken a lot of actions that have hamstrung both law enforcement and particularly the DA's office. I mean, Kim Ogg has been asking for 100 additional prosecutors for, this is the last entire 2 years, and they just absolutely won't even consider a request. But I want to get back to Tomaro's point, which is this is about the judges. And look, I don't like the idea that we elect judges in Texas because there's just too many of them on the ballot and people don't know. And I think everybody on this program knows that I'm not a particularly partisan person, but this is a time that you want to go in and vote against every Democratic judge on the ballot. And I normally wouldn't do that, but this is one time that it's got to be done because it is the Democratic judges that were elected over the last 2 cycles that are letting these violent criminals back on the street. Like, I don't think anybody ought to be stuck in jail because they can't afford to pay when they've got a hot check or some minor crime. But when somebody has demonstrated that they're violent, they are not entitled to bail under our system, period, end of story.
All right, Sergio Lira, many of the victims, the majority of the victims of this crime wave are folks of color. What's your take?
Well, first of all, this crime wave is not only endemic of Houston. Look what happened in New York, officers being killed up there also. My condolences to all the families and victims, but we need to look at it in a comprehensive manner. And it needs to be a comprehensive plan. For example, we have the proliferations of guns. We have more guns in this country than we do people, over 400 million guns that we have. Also, we need bail reform, as you mentioned. We also need the COVID just exacerbated this problem by having, our jails are overcrowded. So we need more of a comprehensive approach to address this issue of the crime wave. No one is immune from the crime wave, and it's not only endemic to Houston, but we must work together. Like Chief Finner said, we have to work together and be vigilant and be good neighbors. But there's no magic formula, and I just think that we need to work together.
All right, Charles Blain, final minute to you. What's going on in our city?
A lot. I mean, and I think it's a piecemeal approach. I think everybody said it's the judges. That's one of the first things, and that's one of the things that voters can do themselves. This March and this November, they can take initiative and look at who their judges are that they're voting for and actually understand the weight that these offices carry. But also, like Sergio said, it is other cities. So if you look, Dallas is the only big city that has seen a decrease in crime, and they saw a decrease in aggravated assaults, homicides, and robberies in 2020 and 2021. And why was that? Because the police and their city council employed new strategies to address crime. And so we have to look at the city side as well. What is our city doing? The mayor said he's going to release an initiative this week. Great, but it's a little too late for that. Why have we not been talking about that? Why are city council members, why did they not, lead protests the way that they did last year against crime in these neighborhoods and partner with civic leaders and religious leaders to get out in the streets and tell people to stop committing crime and try to work in the neighborhoods? Why didn't we ask at any given point the Dallas police chief or anybody from Dallas after they started reporting their violent crime decreases to come and testify at our public safety committee hearings here in city council and tell us what they did so that we can then take their best practices? So I think it's a broad approach of things that need to happen, but I do think for voters, the judges is what they have. They can do that this November.
Hang it right there. We're going to talk more about this in the next segment. Still ahead, the former president's Save America tour finds its way to the Lone Star State, drawing thousands to Montgomery County Fairgrounds. In our Sunday survey, we're asking, given a choice between Donald Trump or a different Republican, who would you prefer as the GOP's presidential nominee in 2024? Vote now by going to fox26houston.com and click on vote, or you can vote on our news app. But up next, we continue our discussion of violent crime and whether the politicians who've done little to control it will be held accountable at the ballot box.
It has got to stop. These are not assaults. These are not attacks. These are brutal, brutal murders.
Constable Ted Heap, in the hours immediately after the killing of Corporal Charles Galloway by an undocumented fugitive who was later captured by Mexican police and returned to Houston. As we continue our discussion of violent crime in Harris County, I pose the question, is the issue of public safety on the radar of most local voters? And if so, what are the chances they hold current leadership accountable in the coming elections? Tomaro Bell, is this on the radar of the folks in the neighborhoods?
Absolutely. This is first and foremost. You have people who don't go to stores unless they can get or get food unless they can get somebody to go for them because they're afraid of being robbed in the grocery store. You have people who don't go to the Galleria anymore, yours truly included, because they're afraid of what will happen when you go over there. Listen, I know that murder is up, but if you listen to Andy Kahn and Crime Stoppers, over 116 people have been killed by repeat felons. If you subtract them from the number of murders that we had last year, our murder rate would have been down. This lies on the shoulders of the commissioners in court who voted for this. Rodney, Lena, and Adrian. This experiment is not working. It's not working. And you've got to do something different.
Sergio Lira, I was fortunate enough to be at your house the other day. I had a great talk with your wife. Even in your neighborhood, there are big concerns. Is it on the radar?
Absolutely. I think this, with recent events, is going to have huge implications for the March primary and also November election. It is a #1 issue. My daughter had to move from my neighborhood to a suburban area because of the crime wave, the gunshots all the time, and my grandkids are afraid. So, folks are fleeing the city because of this. But let me just stress, I don't believe and I don't support defunding the police. I support refunding the police. Police officers need resources. The DA's office needs more prosecutors. We need to reform the bail system and also to reform, the release program. If you're a convicted felon, we have to make sure you stayed in there and you're a danger to our society, our community. But it's going to have huge implications in March and also in November.
Do you think Hispanic voters will come out on this issue, Sergio? Real quick.
Yeah, they're coming out incrementally. We still need some strong leaders. We still need some dynamic, charismatic folks. When Beto ran a while back against Ted Cruz, the numbers of Latinos coming out to vote was enormous. The massive number of folks coming out more. But during this election and March primaries, the voter turnout is always less than the general election in November. I don't see a spike going up. I don't see very many strong, dynamic candidates out there. So, I think it's just going to be flatline. But I do see an increase, but I don't think it's going to be that dramatic.
Got to leave it there. When we come back, outrage over rising violent crime from a former Harris County commissioner. This week, Steve Raddick harshly and very publicly pointed a finger of blame at Judge Lina Hidalgo and her allies.
And the point is that there are people who are hurting people that are being allowed to walk around, and they shouldn't be, period.
Precinct 4's Jack Hagel at this week's meeting of Harris County Commissioners Court, where discussion of the violence related to the crime wave hit critical mass. Enter former Commissioner Steve Raddick, who unloaded on the Democratic majority, claiming the policies of Judge Lina Hidalgo and Commissioners Rodney Ellis and Adrian Garcia have left the trio with, in his words, blood on their hands.
I never dreamed that after serving 32 years on this court, that there would be 3 members of this court, Hidalgo, Garcia, and Ellis, who would kiss the rears of hardened criminals who victimize law-abiding citizens, including law enforcement officers. I'm calling on you 3 to resign from office so the healing can begin. And let me just express this as sincerely as I can. You're a disgrace.
In response, Adrian Garcia accused Raddick of shortchanging Harris County law enforcement for decades, while Commissioner Ellis suggested Raddick seek mental health treatment. Panel, with all of that said, what is your point? I'm going straight to you, Bill King.
Well, I thought it was interesting. Adrian also accused him of being drunk. So, as opposed to addressing his substantive concerns, they do personal attacks. Anytime somebody does that, that they're in trouble. And look, I think they're getting a lot of heat. the overwhelming majority of the victims, and I think it's actually up to like 130 or 140. I'm not sure exactly what Andy's last response was. Overwhelmingly, they're people of color that are the victims of these crimes. Their girlfriends, wives, children. I mean, this is a community problem. Look, Lina Hidalgo hired as their criminal justice consultant when she first came into office a young man who had on his Twitter account before he became their consultant to abolish all prisons. I mean, this is the mindset that you have going on down there, and it's feeding over into the judges that are being elected on the Democratic side because of the pressure that the commissioners' court are putting on them, especially Rodney and Lina, and trying to affect the outcomes of primaries. So look, everyone on this who listens to me on this, you know I'm not a partisan person. I don't like partisan politics. But this is a problem with the Democratic Party in Harris County, and I'm sorry, that's just the way it is.
All right, Gary Polland, I promised you another bite at the apple. Take it.
Okay, here we go. They have been wrong on so many things, it is breathtaking. They were wrong on not providing the county jail resources to protect guards and inmates. The number of assaults we have going in the jail are like off the charts. Number one in Texas, maybe up in the top 5 in the country. 2, they tried to cut back on constable patrols. That is, the constables who are out there patrolling to protect us. They tried to cut that money. Then they're wrong on failing to fund the DA's office. Last year, the DA's office comes in and asks for 100 new prosecutors. Not only do the commissioners say no, they gave the money to the public defender who didn't even ask for it. The public defender in their new budget goes up by 50%, and the DA's office is getting crumbs. Average caseload 700 for DAs, public defenders 100. They're wrong with the sweetheart deal they did on the bail bond reform that the Fifth Circuit now says was illegal, where we gave $2 to $3 million to the friendly lawyers so they could use it to go after other cities and cause them problems. They were wrong not to factor in public safety in any of their decisions. And of course, she was wrong when she got elected, after Lina got elected, and said on her watch there would be no new jail cells. Well, our jails are overcrowded. In order for the jail to go into compliance, they had to ship 500 prisoners outside the county to another jail, which makes it very difficult for the lawyers and the courts to work with them. This is all on their watch. And so, Sergio, God bless you, brother. These people got to go. We don't get rid of them. I'm going to tell you, they get reelected, Harris County's over. Harris County is Detroit.
Charles Blain, there is a sense that Houston, Texas has been involved in a social experiment, particularly on the county level, and that there's been lots of collateral damage. Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think anytime you implement new policy, it's an experiment. And so, yes, we have been involved in the social experiment. I think it has gone pretty poorly so far. But to Bill's point, you know, the Democrats are controlling commissioners' court. They also control the city. And so while I appreciate Raddick going down there, that's not changing anyone's perspective, anyone who's going to go and vote for Lina or vote for Adrian, or if Rodney were up for re-election. That's not changing those folks' perspective. So what we need to see the constables out there making the case for why they're not being supported by commissioners' court and by these folks who are up for re-election, and making the case for why they oppose these judges. We need them to be outspoken and vocal about it, because the community does trust them. We also need the sheriff to be speaking up more about the issue, about what's going on in the jail.
He's part of the problem.
That relates to the commissioner's court. We need the DA doing the same thing. We need the law enforcement officials and the police chief in this county, in this city, speaking up against those who are standing in the way of fixing the problem. And we need them to do it loudly and definitively and in these communities, because that's who these people are going to listen to. And so if they don't get out there and speak up more forcefully heading into November, then we're going to be in the same situation.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. When we come back, new leadership elected for Houston's West Side. Council member-elect Nan Huffman explains to us why restoring law and order was foremost in the eyes of voters. Welcome back. This week, police union attorney and former prosecutor Nan Huffman scored a clear-cut victory over 4 opponents in the special election to represent District G on Houston City Council. We spoke one-on-one with the winner, who told us confronting violent crime was easily the most critical concern for West Side voters. What do you sense about it that has people so alarmed?
I think people are worried that our elected officials aren't doing the things that they need to do to keep us safe. we have these repeat violent offenders out on multiple felony bonds, being released again to go and commit another violent crime.
You also have the insight of knowing what's on the minds of those in the front lines of law enforcement. And they deserve representation too up there. How do you hope to use that experience to better govern our city?
We ask these first responders, whether it's police, fire, EMS, to do this incredibly important job. But we need to make sure that we give them the resources they need to be successful. So I hope that with my experience here with the police union, I'll be able to shed light on some of those issues. From your post as a District G council person, how do you hope to advocate for better law enforcement? We need to increase our police presence. We know that criminals go where the police aren't. So having that presence, Chicago, they have 12,000 police officers. And people say, well, Chicago, it's bigger than the city of Houston. I mean, they're 2.6 million, we're 2.3, and we have about 5,100 officers, and 1,500 of them could retire tomorrow if they wanted to. We need to increase those cadet classes. We need better training. We need better recruitment to really be able to take care of everybody in the city of Houston. District G, like much of the city, but took a beating during Harvey. And I know that probably if there was a second concern, flooding and making sure there's better protection. What did you hear from your constituents on that issue? A lot of times I feel like the people in District G feel ignored. We hear from the city, District G is a more affluent district. They can take care of themselves. I don't care where you live or what kind of job you have. Nobody puts into their family budget a mortgage for a house they can't live in, rent to live somewhere else, an entire rebuild. It's hard no matter where you are, and District G shouldn't be ignored. Coming up, America's 45th Commander-in-Chief comes to Texas to the delight of thousands in Montgomery County. We're talking Donald Trump and his Save America tour on the other side of this break.
The incompetence of our leaders can be scarcely believed. It's a disaster and a disgrace what's happened to our country in the last 10 months. A disaster, a disgrace.
Welcome back. If he shows up, they will come. Exactly 1 year and 9 days after leaving the White House, the 45th president, Donald J. Trump, descended on perhaps the most conservative county in the consistently Republican Lone Star State for a major stop on what he's dubbed the Save America tour. Drawing a crowd of thousands of supporters, Mr. Trump also attracted a who's who list of Republican office holders and candidates, including Governor Greg Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, and Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. With the March primary election a little more than a month away, it was a chance to see and be seen with the biggest power broker in the Republican Party.
Inflation is skyrocketing, gas prices are soaring. Supply chains are crumbling. Can you believe what's happening? Murders are surging. Illegal aliens are pouring in by the millions and millions. China is threatening Taiwan. Iran is on the cusp of a nuclear bomb. Russia may take over Ukraine. Do you hear that crowd back there? Can you believe it?
Donald Trump back in the Lone Star State. What's your point, Charles Blain?
Right. I mean, it's to be expected. It's primary season, and he's just off the heels of, a year that for the Democrats has not been great, and the Republicans are looking to take it back in the midterms, and so he's here to fire up the base. And from what I'm seeing this morning, they're saying that it was the largest crowd for an event in Montgomery County history, so clearly it worked. And I think folks are fired up. I think they're frustrated, and so he's going to keep playing on the attention that he has. I mean, right now, after the last election, he is kind of the kingmaker in the Republican Party until we get to 2024 and we see what happens, whether someone else steps up or whatever the case may be. And so he's here to fire up the base.
Sergio Lira, we know the Latino vote in Texas is not monolithic, and there is a significant number of people who supported Donald Trump in the last election. What's your take on the president's visit here?
Well, first of all, his rhetoric, he tends to look at the cup half empty consistently and just very strong rhetoric as opposed to doom and damnation. And there are some great things that are happening in our country. But back to your question in terms of the Latino vote and how it's not monolithic, because they associated politically that Latinos only vote on the issue of immigration, but it's not. Jobs, healthcare, education, and immigration are the issues, but healthcare is number one, job number two. And the Democratic Party needs to be better at messaging and reaching out to the Latinos on emphasizing jobs, health, education, and not only immigration issues related to the Latino. A lot of Latinos, for the first time, I even have family members voting for the first time for Trump and Republicans because of jobs. And the border was because of jobs. And that is the shift here. The Democrats definitely need a better messaging on healthcare, jobs, education, and not only immigration.
All right, Gary Polland, give us a sense of why so many Texas Republican candidates crave the former president's endorsement.
I think they think he's a force in the primary. And also, look, Donald Trump, when he ran, he was a celebrity. He was a TV star. A lot of these rallies remind me of, rock concerts going to when I was younger. And it's exciting. Do the three candidates need his Abbott, Patrick, and our Attorney General need help from Trump? I don't know. I mean, I don't think it matters in the end of the day. I think voters know who these people are and will decide to vote. And the thing that concerns me going forward, looking at how politics are, I don't want to live in politics in the past. So I don't want to live in 2000. It's over. I don't want to live on January 6th and I'm a Democrat. It's over. We're talking about a 2022 election. We're talking about 2024. And the other thing, I think we need to get away from the geriatric set serving as president. And by the way, that would include Joe Biden and Donald Trump. It's a younger person's job, like Charles Blain, or Tomaro. They're younger. Why don't we have a younger president? In fact, Charles would be terrific. But that's what we need, and that's the problem. So Trump is just, he loves the adulation, he loves the attention. And look, at the end of the day, I believe he lost the election in 2000 because of overexposure. I think people were tired of him.
If you haven't done it yet, check in on our Sunday survey. In the meantime, Tomaro Bell, what do you make of the president's visit here?
Let me
30
tell
seconds.
you what I make of the president's visit here. Listen, Houston, when Lee Brown was president, he had a 655 program in which he put an extra 655 officers on the street with overtime. He started the drop program because the officers were leaving. They're doing the same thing here. They're going to San Antonio, they pay more. They're going to Austin, they pay more. They're going to Dallas, they pay more. We need to do whatever we need to do to get our streets back. That's what I think about Donald Trump coming to Texas.
All right, you saw the numbers on our Sunday survey. 64% of those responding prefer to have Donald Trump at the top of the ballot over some other Republican. We're going to leave it there. Still to come, 100 million local tax dollars committed to get homes for the homeless. Will the massive investment pay dividends? But up next, with progressive Justice Stephen Breyer hanging up his robe for good, it appears the nation's highest court is about to get a significant dose of diversity. Welcome back. After serving 27 years on the Supreme Court, Justice Stephen Breyer is retiring, an unabashed progressive who consistently voted with fellow liberals on the 9-member panel. Breyer will step down this summer, giving President Joe Biden the opportunity to nominate his successor. With word of Breyer's departure, the president repeated his pledge to select a black woman to fill the seat, which, if confirmed, would be our nation's first. Panel with Democrats projected to lose control of one or both congressional chambers in the midterms. Joe Biden has little time to waste to get his choice confirmed. Good news to have an African-American woman on the court tomorrow.
Yes, I think that's very good news, because when Reagan had his opportunity to elect somebody, he made a point of saying, I'm picking a woman. When he got Sandra Day O'Connor, only a fool thought he meant a black woman. Everybody knew he meant he was picking a white woman. Now, it comes out in 2010 in Washington Post when they had an interview with one of Reagan's other assistants. He said he picked Scalia, because he was Italian. He said his exact words that he asked him was, is he of Italian extraction? And he said, yes. So I said, good, I want to meet him. And that's who he picked. There's no problem with this, none.
All right, Bill King, you think the Republicans are going to try to slow walk this?
Well, they can try, but the way the Senate works now, if you've got the presidency and the majority of the Senate, your Supreme Court nominee is going to be approved. I don't think that's a great situation, but the Republicans just did it with 2 justices, and the Democrats are going to do it this time. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Look, I'm sure there are many qualified African-American lady lawyers out there that do a great job on the U.S. Supreme Court. I hope that my grandchildren end up living in the United States when we look at people's ability, the content of their character, and not the amount of melatonin in their skin or their gender.
All right, Sergio Lira, do you welcome this commitment to diversity, even though a Latino is probably not going to be picked?
Absolutely. I'm big on diversity, but more importantly, it's equity and diversity. And I think that, diversity, people say we're the most diverse and I support diversity, but all he's saying is I'm inviting you to the fiesta. But when you're saying equity and equitable representation and giving people opportunities, you're not inviting them to the fiesta. You're inviting them not only to the fiesta, but to the table to sit down and have a good meal with us. Absolutely. I think it's a great idea.
All right, Gary Polland, quickly, supermajority on the high court remains with the R's. Are you feeling okay about that?
Yes. I mean, I think the court's doing a good job, and I agree with everybody. Look, the president gets his choice, and they shouldn't slow walk the appointment. I hope he picks the best qualified person that fits with his liberal philosophy. The fact that we're into identity politics and now we have the black women's seat, or we had a woman's seat that, like Tomaro talked about, it doesn't matter whether it comes from Republicans or Democrats, it's not right. And here's what happens. Whatever black woman he picks, there are going to be people who are going to say, she wasn't the best candidate, she was the best black woman candidate. Even though, by the way, I've looked at some of the credentials of some of these potential candidates, and they got great credentials, and they stack up against anybody, white, black, Hispanic, whatever. But we've got to get away, as Bill said, from identity politics. It's got to end. He could have appointed a black woman. He can do that. He didn't have to campaign on it. That's my problem.
All right, we're going to leave it there. When we come back, Houston Community College still shrouded in what seems like a constant cloud of controversy. We'll discuss the latest troubling development on the other side of this break. Speaking from experience, when veteran Watch Your Point panelist Tomaro Bell believes a topic should be discussed on this program, good luck telling her no. Now, that said, Houston Community College holds the dubious distinction of enduring over the space of just 5 years the federal conviction of 2 different elected board members for accepting bribes. Meantime, another board member is embroiled in a deeply scandalous sexual harassment lawsuit, while Chancellor Cesar Maldonado is accused in separate civil litigation of, and I quote, a type of modern-day Jim Crow policy, practice, and custom to get rid of black employees and replace them with Latinos. In the past few weeks, a new controversy has emerged with folks on the north side claiming they've been intentionally frozen out of representation on the board. Tomorrow, what's the concern out there?
HCC is a lifeline for most children to get to college. The dual college program that they offer at many schools, they don't offer at a lot of the schools on the north side, and it makes no sense. If you look at the HCC campuses in which Rhonda Skilling-Jones used to represent, and you go look at the Hispanic campuses and the West campuses, it looks like night and day. This has to stop. There's no way they could not appoint an interim. The super neighborhoods over there, and the precinct chairs sent letters of support for a lady named Kathy Gunther because they wanted to be at the table when the money's being divided up, and they didn't get that opportunity because of Cynthia Lynn Gary, the newly appointed chair to there. Now, rumor on the street is the reason that she did this is because of a transactional deal, because she was the board member who was supposed to be investigating Maldonado about the claims against him, and it comes out she said, oh, he didn't do nothing in a relationship that he allegedly had with an elected official's spouse. And so because of that, they're put in this quandary and put these children at risk. They have no representation, none. When Oliver left, they got an interim. When Robinson left, Carol Robinson, they got an interim. Why do them like this? This is the same way they got done in District B. This has to stop, and the racism has to stop. This has to end under this man. He got to go.
All right, Senator, you heard it. The intentional shortchanging of of African Americans by a Latino chancellor. Do you believe that's true?
No, of course, they're just allegations. You know, a lot of these things are allegations. They haven't been proven. The lawsuit from Ben Hall is a $100 million lawsuit. And what happens here in these types of lawsuits that are, this type, is that in the end, no matter how long it takes, it's been a year since he filed the lawsuit, but at the end, the folks that are really benefiting from this, all the attorneys, they're the ones that are just going to make tons of money here on these types of lawsuits. And the other piece,
that's only if they win because they're right.
Hold on, Tomaro.
The other thing is that I agree, representation is needed on that seat that was vacated or the person resigned. Those folks do need representation. And by the way, that HCC campus right there on the north side by I-10 and 59 North, it's a nice campus. And I support HCC because only less than 5% of minorities go on to Tier 1 universities. So HCC, Lone Star College are great opportunities of hope and career. So, we need to do everything we can to support them. But, these allegations, let them play out in the court system and let those lawyers make tons of money.
All right, we ran out of time, so we're going to leave it there. Still to come, a massive investment to get the homeless housed and off Houston streets. Will it work or waste resources needed elsewhere? $100 million. It's a very big number, and it happens to be the amount of public funds that Mayor Sylvester Turner and County Judge Lina Hidalgo say they've committed to reducing homelessness. A centerpiece of the plan is conversion of a city-owned building into a transitional shelter to get folks off the street and eventually into permanent housing. Panel, that project has drawn some protests from some in the 5th Ward who called the so-called Navigation Center. They say it will cause problems in a community already facing too many challenges. Urban reformer Charles Blain, what's your read on this?
Well, first of all, it's just a massive amount of money. You know, now we sound like San Francisco, which a couple of years ago said that they were building affordable housing to kind of shift folks from homelessness to housing, and it was costing $750,000 per unit. So it's ridiculous. But if you listen to city council during the conversation about this, most of those people, while some of them were saying that they didn't want it in their neighborhood, most of them were frustrated because the systems were not in place for the city to have conversations with them before they decided to bring this place there. They were saying they wanted to be a part of the conversation. The city's just putting this there and not including them in that. And this is the same thing that happened back with the ION was going on. People were calling and saying, hey, we want to be a part of the conversation. The city was just moving forward. And so you keep hearing these things from communities saying that the city moves into their community and puts something down that they may or may not want, but they're not included in the conversation. And so that needs to change.
Bill, I know you've looked hard at homelessness. Do you have concerns with this expenditure?
Yeah, this is an extraordinarily complex problem. I've actually gone down and walked through the camps and talked to people that are living there and stuff. And the first thing you find is that there's a huge mental health element to this. I want to say at least half, maybe as much as 75% of the people have some kind of mental illness that they're dealing with. And look, in the 60s and 70s, we just, quit building mental hospitals in the entire country. And I think that what happened was those people instead of going there, they're now either in jail or in the street. That's what happened. And it was a mistake. And we got to figure out how to fix it. I don't have much opinion about this particular plan. There is a great model that San Antonio did. It's called the Haven for Hope. And it's a facility. They put it in sort of an industrial area, so it's not really impacting any neighborhoods. And it's a place where people that don't have any place to go can go. And it's a warm place, and there's all sorts of services there. They also have a big park-like area that you can sleep outside, because one of the manifestations of schizophrenia is they don't want to sleep inside. They feel confined. So I think we've got to do this as an intelligent approach, and just throwing money at it's not the answer.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. When we come back, an unbiased report card is gauging the city of Houston's financial fitness, and it certainly appears we are on the brink of flunking. City of Houston, we've got a problem. According to an independent analysis by the nonprofit organization Truth in Accounting, Houston's finances are in pretty rough shape, citing a debt load of $13,200 for each and every one of its citizens. Houston ranked 60th out of the 75 most populous cities in the nation and the worst in Texas. Bottom line, our community received a letter grade of D, which the number crunchers at Truth in Accounting tell us is assessed to cities with, quote, unbalanced budgets and significant debt. Panel, if it's any consolation, New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Portland all received Fs. Going to you, Charles Blain, what do you make of it?
Well, I love the financial state of the city's report. It really breaks it down. But what I think is so important in this is that they really highlight the fact that the city has put 0 cents to the other pension employment, other post-employee benefits, so retiree health care liabilities. They've not put money there. And so this is a massive problem. And so with this $13,200 means is that is what it costs for each one of us taxpayers for the city to get out of its liability debt. That's absurd. And that's the worst for every major city in Texas. Dallas, Austin, San Antonio. We, according to the report, we're the worst. And Plano, on the other hand, has a $2,700 surplus for all of their residents. So every time the mayor and the city council says they balance the budget, know that that is not true.
Bill King, that's the question. One word answer. Does the city of Houston actually have a balanced budget?
No, of course not. Look, our controller has said for every report that he's done during the time that we have a structurally unbalanced budget. You know, the mayor and council's definition of a balanced budget, if they don't run out of cash in the bank account at the end of the year, regardless of where that money came from. So, I make, $100,000, but I go borrow $1 million and I spend $1.1 million while I balance my budget. I mean, that's not the way it works in anybody's household, Like, the city has spent more money than it's taken in for a long, long time. And it's not a question of revenues. Revenues have continued to go up in the city every year for many, many years, but we keep raising expenses more than that. We've got to reimagine city government financially.
All right, Gary, really quick, 10-second assessment.
We got a spending problem, Houston, and Turner has not done anything to get rid of it. In fact, he's going to hand this off to the next mayor, and then the next mayor can get the F that's waiting for the city of Houston.
Lira, 15 seconds.
Well, as a lifelong educator, you need D's and that just means you need to stay after school for tutorials. That's what
we'll talk to you tomorrow in overtime. Thanks for joining us. The conversation continues on a national level next with Fox News Sunday. And we'll keep talking here with What's Your Point Overtime, streaming on fox26houston.com and on our Facebook page. From all of us here, have a safe and healthy week.